So today I'm going to tell you the story of Fair, Brown, and Trembling. Once, a long time ago, way long ago, before I was born, before my parents were born, before my grandparents were born, before any of y'all were born, there was a castle on a hill in Ireland, and in the castle lived a king and his 3 daughters. And his daughters' names were Fair, Brown, and Trembling. Fair and Brown got to live the life that everybody thinks a princess lives. They had new clothes and new shoes and princes that thought they were fabulous, and they went to church every single Sunday. But Trembling was treated as the servant. She was the youngest and the smallest and the prettiest, and her sisters were jealous of her, and so they never let her leave the house, and nobody even knew she existed. One Sunday, Fair and Brown came down to go to church, and they headed out the door with a warning to Trembling not to leave the house and to make sure that everything was clean and neat before they came back. So off they went in their beautiful clothes to go to Mass. In walked the henwife. Now a henwife is somebody that tends chickens and brings in eggs and things, and she looked over at Trembling and she said, "Why aren't you ready for church?" And Trembling said, "My sisters would kill me if I left the house. I have to clean and have dinner ready, and everything has to be right before they come home." "But why aren't you ready for church?" "Can't go." "Of course you can." "Well, I can't go for no other reason than I have nothing to wear." "Silly girl, this is not a problem." And the henwife pulled on her magic cloak and pulled out her magic scissors and snipped at the air, and the next thing you knew, Trembling had a beautiful dress as white as snow and ruby slippers for her feet. And the henwife looked at her and said, "Here's what you must do. Outside you will find a mare as white as snow with a golden saddle. You will get on the mare and you will ride to church, and you will listen to the service, and when the service is over, you will come straight home. Don't talk to anyone, don't touch anyone, say nothing, come straight home." So Trembling went off to church on her beautiful white horse in her beautiful white dress with her red shoes, and when she arrived, everyone in church realized there was a strange, beautiful woman outside. And so they began to whisper, and they began to talk, and as they got up to leave the church to see who she was, the horse took off like the wind, took Trembling all the way back home, didn't stop. She slid off the horse and went and changed into her rags and walked into the kitchen and found that the henwife, while she had been gone, had done all of her chores and had dinner bubbling and hot, waiting. Just in the nick of time, Trembling bent down to begin to clean something, and her sisters walked in. She looked up very innocently and said, "And how was church?" And her sisters were mad. Church was horrible. It was awful. There was a strange woman who no one has ever seen before, and she was beautiful, and the dress. Oh, the dress was magnificent. It was white and beautiful, and she had on red slippers, and she rode a white horse, and it was fabulous, and none of the men wanted to talk to us as soon as she arrived. "Oh dear, I'm so sorry," said Trembling. But in her heart she wasn't really sorry.
Well, that much was obvious.
So the next Sunday came, and again, down the stairs come Fair and Brown. This time they were dressed in a beautiful white gown because the fair lady had worn a white gown. And off they went to church with the same warning of Trembling not to leave and to make sure that things were neat and tidy and dinner was ready. In walks the henwife just as soon as her sisters were gone and said, "You're not ready. Why aren't you ready?" Trembling's like, "Well, I have the same problem I had last time. I can't go. If I put on the white dress, everyone will know it was me. You said no one can know it was me, and I'll get in trouble. So I have nothing to wear at the very least." "Oh, you silly girl." And so the henwife pulled on her magic cloak and pulled out her magic scissors and snipped at the air. And the next thing you know, Trembling had a beautiful gown that was black as midnight with white sparkles on it, and again, new shoes for her feet. This time, waiting for her outside was a black mare with a silver saddle, and she was given the same warning from the henwife: "Do not get off the horse. Do not talk to anyone. Go straight to church, listen, and come back." Well, last week at church, the neighboring prince who had been interested in Trembling's sister Fair had noticed Trembling on the horse. And this time, he noticed her even more when she showed up. And everyone, when the lady arrived on the beautiful black horse, turned and whispered and looked and tried to sneak out the church to be able to find out who she was. But like a shot, that horse was gone again and rode her back straight to the house, where she slipped off the horse and changed clothes and found that the hen wife had once again done all of her chores so that she wouldn't be in trouble. In walks her sisters. Trembling looks up and says, "How was church?" And her sisters were even more angry, because the prince that had taken notice of Trembling was from the neighboring kingdom, and he had liked Fair, but now he didn't even speak to her. He couldn't stop talking about anything except the beautiful lady on the horse. So the third Sunday comes, and again, the sisters walk down the stairs, and this time they are in beautiful black dresses, so that they look as close to the lady as possible, and off they go to church with the same warning to Trembling not to leave the house and to make sure that every single thing is done and waiting. They leave, and the hen wife walks in. "Again, girl, you're not ready." "I can't go." "Of course you can go." "I can't go. I don't have a dress." "All right, girl. What would you like this time?" She pulls out her magic cloak and her magic scissors, and she waits, and Trembling says, "I'd like a dress where the bottom is as green as the hills of Ireland, and the top is as white as snow, and a cloak as red as the flowers that grow in our garden." "Done!" And so she snipped at the air and created the most beautiful gown. And this time, she put Trembling on a horse as golden as her hair and sent her off to church. Trembling arrived at church, and lining the church around the yard was a row of hedges, and this time, the handsome prince, who had been interested in Fair and was now interested in Trembling, was waiting. He wasn't going to miss his chance this time. And as her horse entered the churchyard, he reached up and grabbed Trembling's foot. Well, the horse, realizing that someone was there, took off to head home, and the prince ran and tried to keep up with the horse, but he fell, and when he fell, he pulled off Trembling's shoe. And so Trembling arrives home, and she's very upset, and she comes in, and she's limping, and the hen wife says, "Why are you home so early?" And she says, "I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I lost the shoe. There was the prince, and he was there, and he grabbed my foot, and he ran, and he fell, and the shoe came off, and I'm so sorry." "Don't worry about it. This could be a good thing. But I lost the shoe. It's okay. Don't worry. Just wait. You'll see." And so Trembling went and changed clothes and put on her rags and began to do her own chores, because she obviously wasn't going back to Mass. And her sisters walked in, and they were furious. They were beyond mad this time. They were so angry because the handsome prince, all he could talk about was how beautiful the woman was and how that he had her shoe. And so now he had a way to find her, and he would find her, and he would marry her, and she would be his princess. "Gotta be able to wear that shoe," said Fair. "Well, I might be able to wear the shoe," said Brown. "Well, I could be able to wear the shoe," said Trembling. "You're not going to wear the shoe." And sure enough, the prince set off to find the beautiful woman on the horse, and he went house to house to house, and things got really silly. Women were cutting off toes and snipping their heels and squishing their foot into this poor shoe, and no one's foot fit.
God, they seem desperate.
And so, finally, the prince, along with all of his brothers who had been helping in this search, arrived at the castle. And he walks in and he says, "I need all of the ladies of the house." And Fair and Brown come out, and as they are coming down the stairs to meet him, they shove poor Trembling in a closet. So first Fair tries on the shoe, and no matter how hard she squishes and pulls and pokes at this shoe, her big foot will not fit in this little shoe. So then it is time for Brown to try on this shoe, and no matter what she does, her foot will not fit in this shoe. The prince at this point is very disheartened. Is there anyone else in the house that might try the shoe? "Nope, we are it. There's nobody else." And from the corner of the room in the closet, you hear, "I'm here." And Prince looks around. Who was that? "I'm in the closet." Who's in the closet? Our maid. She's the maid, really. She's nothing. Is she your girl? Well, yes. Then she needs to run the show. So they let Trembling out of the closet, and she walks up to the prince, and she slips her tiny little foot into the tiny little slipper. And he says, "Finally, I found you. You are the one I'm going to marry." And she says, "But I can't. I have to prove to you that I'm the right person." And so she goes off to her room, and she comes out in her beautiful red dress that she wore, white dress that she wore the first time she went to church. And he says, and she says, "Wait." And she goes back into her room, and she comes back out, and she's in her beautiful black dress with the sparkles. And he says, and she says, "Just wait." And this time she runs back into her room, and she comes out in her beautiful dress of green and white with the red cloak, and she climbs on her horse. And he says, "Will you listen now?" And she says, "Are you sure that I'm the right one now?" And he says, "I was sure the moment I looked in your eyes. I knew you were the lady from the horse. I knew you were the one that would fit this shoe, and I knew that you were the one that I was going to marry." And so Trembling and her fair prince rode off to his castle together, and they got married, and they had 14 children, and they lived happily until they died of old age in each other's arms.
Jeez, 14 children.
I can't believe that.
You can get